In this video, I will show how you can display and hide database items in your Bionumerics database based on user-defined settings using the concept of views. All information available in the database is standard displayed in each grid panel. The view in the toolbar of each panel is default set to all, followed by the name of the object. For example, all entries, all experiment types, all fingerprint files, and all comparisons. 4 predefined views are available in each grid panel, and I can very easily switch to another view by clicking on the View button in the button bar. The loaded view will display all database items that are loaded into memory. The third option, the My option, will only display the database items of which the logged-in user is the owner. In our demo database, Jack is currently logged in. If the My Experiment Types option is selected, only the experiment types of which Jack is the owner will be displayed. I will switch back to the previous view by choosing the All Experiment Types option again. The Selected View option will only display the currently selected database items. To illustrate this last option, I will first create a selection in the Experiment Types panel. I select my 2 RFLP type experiments using the checkboxes on the left. I collapse the list of views and I choose the Selected Experiment Types option from the list. The experiment list in the Experiment Types panel and the Experiment Presence panel is updated. I switch back to the previous view by choosing the All Experiment Types option again. Besides the 4 predefined views, it is also possible to create and save your own custom views based on a selection or based on a query in the database. I will first make a custom view based on a selection in my database. I make sure the 2 RFLP experiments are still selected in the Experiment Types panel, and I choose the Manage User-Defined Views menu item to call the Manage User Views dialog box. In this dialog, I can choose to hide 1 or more predefined views using the checkboxes on top. I can also specify the startup view for this panel. Default, all items are displayed. To create my own custom view, I click the Add button and specify a name for my new view. For example, my 2 RFLP experiments. Since I want to create a view based on the current selection, I make sure the Subset Based option is selected and I add the view to the database. The new view is added to the Experiment Types panel and is automatically selected. As a second example, I will create a query-based view that will return all Perdrix entries in the Database Entries panel. I call the Manage User Views dialog in the Database Entries panel and click the Add button. I specify a name for my new view, for example Perdrix, and I make sure the query-based option is selected. I type Perdrix next to the genus entry field and I make sure equals is selected from the list. The new dynamical view is added to the database and is automatically selected. When new entries are added to the database having the text Perdrix in the genus field, they will be automatically included in the view. I will now create a second query-based view, but this time returning all database entries that were added to the database in the last 2 weeks. I call the Manage User Views dialog again and click the Add button. I specify a name, for example, added last 2 weeks. And make sure the query-based option is selected. I add a new item to the list. I select creation date. I choose larger than and select current date minus 14 days. The new view is added to the Database Entries panel and is automatically selected. All entries added to the database in the last 2 weeks are automatically included in the view. To illustrate this, I will add a new entry to the database. This new entry is automatically added to the new view. I will open the Manage User View dialog again, but this time from within the Fingerprint Files panel. The option Load Complete Set at start of a session can be very useful in case of large databases. When this option is unchecked, only those fingerprint items that are retrieved by the selected startup view are loaded into computer memory. I select the Loaded Fingerprint Files view as Startup view. Now, no fingerprint files will be loaded when opening the database, and this will significantly reduce the startup time of databases having a lot of fingerprint files. I close and reopen my database to illustrate this. The Loaded Fingerprint Files view is now the default view in the Fingerprint Files panel. If I want to see a fingerprint file associated with an entry, it will be dynamically fetched when I click on a green dot in the Experiment Presence panel. Alternatively, I can open the Entry Edit window and click on the link.